How's everybody doing? My name's Nick. I do working on the truck videos, working on the SUV videos, I guess, in the shop. This is 2021 Ram 2500. I got a zillion videos on this thing. I also got a 2000 Yukon XL 2500. I haven't talked about this yet, but I'm thinking about doing a budget build this winter on it. I think it would be fun to like set a budget at 2,500 bucks or something like that, and we count every single penny and we see what we can do. I think that would be a lot of fun. Because if if you watch these videos, you know I did so much of this work myself. Even though, like right now, as the car sits, it's a very, very expensive car. It would have been a lot more if I didn't do the stuff myself, or if I picked really expensive things instead of doing like smart purchasing, where I would consider what we're going to talk about in this video is smart purchasing. And it's these lights, these four-wheel drive King lights, this light bar, and there's a 10-inch light and a 10-inch light over here. Now it looks yellow. Those were actually clear. I put tint on it for like $5. Right? So I made them yellow. I'll link to all my light videos in the description at the top. But four-wheel drive King lights. This light bar was $80, and not the metal, just the light. And the lights over here were $80. I guess it was $40. I guess they charge $40 per 10-inch. I guess that's what it is. I could make a video. It would be over pretty much in 2 seconds. I'll tell you right now, these lights have been great for me. 2.5 years, didn't have one single problem. And I want to note that first, but also I want to tell you why I haven't had a problem. I think they're a good light. I do think that they are not a junk light, right? You could buy this light bar from somewhere probably for $20 or something like that. I wouldn't do that. But I also wouldn't spend $300 on a light bar like this. I think that's a waste of money. I absolutely think that. Now, if you're into lights, if you think that lights are the freaking greatest thing and you get off on lights, that's your whole deal. The only reason you own a car is so that you can put lights on it. Do that. I'm very happy that you found something you love. But if you just want to just make things brighter or something, four-wheel drive King lights, that's where you got to go, or something similar to that. This is what I would recommend. If I do a light on the Yukon, it's going to be four-wheel drive King. If I do another really expensive build in the future, maybe next year, it's going to be four-wheel drive King light. There's absolutely no reason to spend $350 on a 20-inch light bar. And the reason is because 9 times out of 10, what goes wrong with lights is the connection you make from the light to the power source. That's it. It's the installation. If you screw up the installation, you will screw up the light. And it's very, very important to understand that the installation costs for an $80 four-wheel drive King light bar and the installation costs for a $350 who knows what light bar is exactly the same. The cost is exactly the same. The quality is exactly the same. It has to be. Okay? So don't spend your money on, if I just put those two things together, 9 times out of 10, the problem is with the installation, and the installation is the same between a cheap light and an expensive light. Now I'm calling this a cheap light as money. I'm not saying this is a decent quality, this is a good quality, decent quality light. It's the same. So spend your money on the installation. Now, that's what I did. I used 12 gauge wire. That's overkill. Okay? 14 gauge, absolutely could have used that. Honestly, maybe even got away with 16. But if you're saying, I can maybe get away with 16, do not do 16, okay? I use 12. Why? Because if I'm going to use 14, then I might as well use 12. I don't know why I have this problem where if I have to put up plywood, and I could probably use 1/2-inch CDX, well, I'm going to use 3/4. Why? Because the difference between 1/2-inch and 3/4, it's not like I don't have to put plywood up or I'm going to put 3/4. No, that's dumb. I'm just saying that you can go up a little bit. 16 inches on center spacing for a deck, I'll do 12. Why? Because the cost is not really that much more. You got a couple extra joists, right? You got a few extra hangers, you're done. So I use 12 gauge. I could have done 14, but I used 12. I also used SXL wire. There's 3 tiers of wire you can use for automotive use. I mean, there's a million tiers, but generally speaking, there's 3. There's T, G, and S. S is the top, T is the worst. Never touch T. That's the 16 gauge. Never touch 16 gauge, never touch T. You want to do 14 gauge G? All right. My opinion is step it up, okay? 12 gauge and SXL. The insulation is super thick. If you're in the mud and the snow and the rain and you're going through puddles and deep puddles, you can do water crossing, not like over the hood type. I'm just talking about any kind of water crossing, a foot high. You got water going everywhere, mud going, dirt. Use the best wire that you can. The connections, solder your connections. My opinion is that you should solder, shrink tube, and even electrical tape, all three of those things, on exterior connections when you're going to be using a vehicle in very, very dirty, muddy, even salty conditions like we have over here in upstate New York and a lot of places in the Northeast, right? Solder your connections. Those butt connectors that are insulated, I use those ones. It's like, it's a butt connector, right? You crimp it, and then there's like a line of glue, and then there's a shrink tube part over it. It's like one piece. I can flash it up on the screen. Those things are cool. I absolutely would use those. I would use them in the inside, though. Or if it's just a regular car, right? That you're just commuting with it back and forth, and you're not going to, let's say, even a job site. You're just going to a parking lot. I wouldn't have a problem with that. I wouldn't use those solder ones. You know, the ones with the solder in the center. You've seen people use those. I wouldn't use those things. I've heard not so good things about that. I would never use those. If you want to solder, just solder it. It's cheaper too. Just buy a soldering pencil. Have a soldering pencil. You'll be able to solder a zillion joints with a soldering pencil. Get yourself very, very thin solder. Don't get thick solder. You're not sweating a copper pipe here. We're just trying to just solder a little tiny joint. If you don't know about soldering, the soldering pencil heats up the wire. The solder is melted by the wire, not by the soldering pencil. And that just lets it flow right through. It's just actually like soldering a copper, sweating a copper joint. You're heating up the copper, and then you're putting that solder into the joint on the copper. You're not touching it to the flame. Same thing with soldering with a soldering pencil on wire. You do that. Thing is you're going to save money, and the connection is the best. Where in life can you have the best for the cheapest? That is soldering, okay? Absolutely, without a doubt. The crimping tool that you got to buy, I have them. I have it. The thing cost me $50 for those. I can't say the name of it. It's like HAR. I'll flash the name up. They are the best company that makes those butt connectors, the insulated butt connectors with the crimping tool. I have this crimping tool. It's got a million different attachments. You can crimp anything with it. Very, very cool stuff. Great for interior and exterior for like a commuter car or something like that. It's the installation that usually causes problems. You have too much power going through a thin wire. That's why I'm using 12. Not taking any chances, even though these are just LED lights. But not taking it. What if I decide at some point in time I want to put something bigger here? Well, now I don't have to redo the connection. I don't have to redo the installation. I just take a light out and put a bigger light in, right? Very, very simple. So you have too much power going through a thin wire, they get hot, and this causes fires. That's what causes fires, really. Shorts cause because things are poking through insulation when they shouldn't, or connections or become loose and detach and then touch something. These are all things that screw up lights, and your light stops working because your connection is bad, and you throw out why did I buy this $80? I should have bought that $350 light bar, right? No, your light still works. You don't even realize it because your butt connector fell off, or it got corroded or something like that. So this is my opinion, but if you want to save money, in the case of lights, you can buy a good light and do the same installation as you would for a great light, the correct installation, and you will save money. Just do the math. I spent $160 on these lights, $80 on the materials to install it. That's $240, right? I spend $40, I cheap out on the good lights, right? And then I got $300 and $300, $640, right? That's $400. It's still costing me $400. And the thing that screws up the lights is worse. Okay? So please save them. Take that $400, put it in something else. Do you know how many freaking tires? You know how expensive tires are? Tires are $400 each. It's ridiculous what's going on, right? All right? That's my opinion on lights. I hope you learned something with this, or maybe I changed your mind. You had those lights in your cart, and you say, you know what? I'm deleting these lights, and I'm going to buy some four-wheel drive King lights. I'll link to these in the description. They make all different types. You can get them on Amazon, and they'll be at your house in 2 days, and they're a good light. I would not buy if you see a light bar that's 20-inch light bar and it's $20, don't buy it, okay? That's a junk light. That's a junk light. But a good light installed correctly is going to last a long time. All right, everyone. Catch you on the next one. See ya.